The diner was unusually quiet that evening, with the faint hum of jazz playing from an old speaker and the smell of fresh coffee drifting through the air. Thomas Bennett, a man who seemed to carry the weight of the world on his tailored shoulders, sat at a corner booth. His little daughter, Lily, clutched a worn-out teddy bear, swinging her legs under the table. Thomas wasn't just any man, he was the CEO of a multinational company. But tonight, all the boardrooms and billion-dollar deals felt irrelevant. He wasn't here as a powerful executive. He was here as a father, a single father who was failing at the one job that mattered most. Lily's mother had passed away 2 years earlier. Since then, Thomas had drowned himself in work, convinced that providing luxury and security would somehow fill the void in his daughter's heart. But what Lily craved wasn't more toys or trips. It was love, warmth, and a presence he could never outsource. That's when it happened. As the waitress approached with a warm smile, Lily looked up at her with innocent eyes and asked, in the softest but clearest voice the words froze time. Thomas felt his chest tighten, his fork slipping from his hand. The waitress, a young woman named Sarah, stopped mid-step, stunned by the child's question. Around the diner a few heads turned, sensing the weight of the moment. Sarah bent down slowly until she was eye level with Lily. "Sweetheart, what did you say?" she asked gently. Lily's big brown eyes glistened. "You're nice, you smile, you listen. Daddy doesn't smile anymore. I just want a mommy who loves me." The entire diner went silent, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Thomas's throat burned with guilt. He had buried his grief in spreadsheets and meetings, never realizing how deeply Lily felt the absence. Sarah, visibly touched, reached out and held Lily's tiny hand. "Oh honey, I'm not your mommy, but I can be your friend, and I promise you are so loved." Tears welled in Thomas's eyes, something that hadn't happened in years. For the first time he saw the truth. No amount of money could buy what his daughter needed most. But the night wasn't over. When Sarah returned with their meals, she noticed Thomas struggling to hold himself together. After a pause, she spoke softly. "She doesn't need perfection, you know. She just needs you, fully present. Not the CEO, not the provider, the dad." Those words cut deeper than any boardroom criticism ever could, and yet they healed something too. Then came the twist. Just as Thomas was about to thank Sarah, the diner manager walked over, scolding her for wasting time on customers instead of keeping up with orders. Thomas watched as Sarah, embarrassed, apologized and hurried away. But he couldn't ignore what he'd just witnessed. A young woman who had shown more compassion to his daughter in 5 minutes than he had in 2 years. On impulse, Thomas called the manager over. "Do you know who I am?" he asked sternly. The manager smirked. "Does it matter?" Thomas leaned forward. "Yes, it does. Because tomorrow, you'll be reporting to me." A confusion spread across the man's face. Thomas slid a business card across the table. "I own the parent company that controls this diner chain. And let me tell you, the way you treat people is about to change." The manager turned pale and quickly excused himself. Sarah, overhearing the exchange, returned nervously. I hope I didn't cause trouble." Thomas shook his head. "Quite the opposite. You reminded me what actually matters, and I'm grateful." Lily tugged Sarah's apron, whispering, "So you can't be my mommy, but can you have pancakes with us?" Sarah's eyes softened. She glanced at the clock. Her shift was almost done. She nodded. "Yeah, sweet pea. I'd love that." And so, for the first time in what felt like forever, Thomas and Lily shared a meal filled with laughter, stories, and warmth. Sarah wasn't there as a waitress anymore. She was simply a kind soul, filling an empty space with compassion. That night, as Thomas tucked Lily into bed, she hugged her teddy tighter and whispered, "Daddy, you smiled again today. Mommy would be happy." Thomas kissed her forehead, tears slipping silently down his face. "I think she would, sweetheart. I think she would." From that day on, Thomas made a promise, not to be perfect, but to be present. He scaled back his hours, learned how to braid Lily's hair, and read bedtime stories without rushing. And every week they visited the diner, not for the food, but for the friend who reminded them both what family really means. Sometimes, kindness comes from the most unexpected places, and sometimes one small question from a child weeks passed, and the diner became more than just a place to eat. It became a sanctuary. Every Saturday morning, Thomas and Lily would walk through the glass doors, greeted by the familiar smell of fresh coffee and pancakes. And every time, Sarah would be there, apron tied around her waist, flashing the warm smile that Lily had come to love. One morning, Lily skipped ahead of her father, rushing straight into Sarah's arms. "You came back!" she squealed, as if it was ever in doubt. Sarah laughed, hugging her back. "Of course, silly. Where else would I be?" Thomas watched the exchange quietly. He had grown used to the sight of Lily's joy, but it never stopped breaking something inside him, and healing it at the same time. Sarah wasn't Lily's mother, but she had brought back something Thomas thought was gone forever: hope. Over time, Sarah and Thomas began to talk, not just about Lily, but about life. Sarah confessed she was putting herself through night school, working 2 jobs to pay for tuition. "I want to become a teacher one day," she said shyly. "Kids, they remind me that there's always something worth fighting for." Thomas admired her resilience. He had spent his life climbing ladders and chasing numbers, but here was someone who had nothing, yet gave everything she had. One evening, after another long Saturday at the diner, Lily tugged her father's hand as they walked to the car. "Daddy," she whispered, "why don't you marry Sarah? Then she can be my mommy." Thomas froze again, just like that first night. But this time, instead of guilt, he felt something else, something unfamiliar but warm. He smiled, kneeling down to meet Lily's eyes. "Sweetheart, you can't just ask someone to be part of our family like that." "Why not?" Lily pouted. "She makes pancakes better than you. She reads me stories when you're busy, and she makes you smile. Mommy would want us to be happy." Her innocence was disarming. Thomas didn't have an answer. All he knew was that Sarah had become part of their lives in a way he never expected.